Morning, everyone. I'm Michael. I'm going to be your host for this morning's session. Today, we're looking at CH50 accounts. It's a two-part mini-series, this one. So we're running part 2 tomorrow at 11. So we're looking at customer statements. So today, we're going to look at choosing your layout, what options you've got, and also generally the process of generating statements. So making your selection of records and actually just that process of outputting them and what the statements actually show. Tomorrow we'll be looking at part 2. We'll be looking at the option for emailing. So if you aren't yet emailing your statements, it is so much quicker and potentially a good cost saver as well. Right, this morning though, this is what we're going to be covering. So quick introduction, concentrate on choosing your layout, and then obviously the process of generating statements. I'm not touching email today. I'm just going to be concentrating on either previewing them or as if you were going to print them. But same process. So tomorrow, part 2, we're going to be looking specifically at adding email settings and what options you can change and how you go about doing that. But today we're just going to get as far as sort of generating them. So what options have you got when it comes to that? And then right at the end, we'll explain more about the additional support. And of course, if there's anything outstanding question-wise, I will try and pick those up as well. But do engage with me. Keep your questions and your comments coming as we work through this session. Anything you're not sure about, pop it in there. Right, so let's start with a brief introduction to the subject of statements. And as far as statements are concerned, it's really easy to generate those. You've always been able to do that from the software and all levels of the software as well. You can generate them individually or in a batch, entirely up to you. You can do them whenever you want as well. Doesn't have to be a particular point in time, although I suppose historically people do them on a monthly basis, normally at the end of the month. They can be emailed or printed, or you might use a combination of that. You might be still transitioning from printing everything to emailing them out. And a number of layouts are provided. However, the number of layouts that you do now have available, if you're on an up-to-date version, will be a lot less than what you've had in the past. So obviously we can track who uses what layouts and the trend for going from, obviously as it's gone from printing to email over the years, the 11-inch continuous stationary layouts are being used less and less and less. So multiple layouts are provided. We'll run through them, give you an idea of what's available when we start looking at that and give you an idea of what you can choose. And obviously they can be amended if required. Benefits wise of sending out statements, there's loads of these that you could probably think of. There's probably more that you could add to the list as well. But generally, just that transparency element. It provides that list of the current position of what's on a customer's account. Prompts payment as well, acts as a bit of a reminder when they do receive that statement. This is what's outstanding. It still needs to be paid. And obviously, you could potentially, it's not on there by default, but you could add your payment methods on there so they can be included, whether you print or email. And there are also options and services available where included on the statement, you can include, if you're emailing, you can include a pay now button. So customers can click that and make their payment directly to you. And via the service that's available, so a PO, that transaction will automatically download into your account software, pay off the relevant invoices as well. So it makes it quite slick, that process. So I'm sure, as I say, I'm sure you can think of other benefits as well. As far as time is concerned, if you're emailing it, you tend to find these days the majority of people do email. It's a really good time saver. I know when I started at Sage all those years ago, it was very much everyone was printing. You have email back? You probably had email back in them days, but not initially when I started. And everyone would be printing them out. And it would take, sometimes it would be a big job to print out all the statements, and then you've got it's printing them out, popping them in envelopes, and posting them, and the cost of postage and stationery and everything that went with it. And obviously, switching to email a lot quicker now. You just off it goes. Might be a 2-minute job for you. So a lot quicker these days, a lot slicker. So as far as statements are concerned, step one, make sure you choose the right layout. Easy to get to, customers, statements, then you've got that layouts folder. Now, depending on your version, as I mentioned, if you slightly older version, you might have quite a few other layouts listed, but these days I think there's 5 by default. Now, some of them in the name of that will say, it mentions the word grouped. Some will say all items, some will say O/S items, indicating it's for outstanding. Others, really older versions, you might have a one that says individual. I'll mention that when we cover groups a little bit. And there's also the ones that say appeal by Elevon. Some of them I mentioned earlier there, just the one that includes the Pay Now button. If you're using appeal, then those layouts would include that Pay Now button when you email out your statement. Remember to flag it as a favorite as well, just saves you a couple of extra clicks here and there. Nice and easy to do that. You just click on the star. Now, quickly running through just those names, and we'll have a look at these in a moment as well. So the ones that say grouped, which I think they're all grouped by default these days. So all that means is when it says grouped is if you've got an invoice or you've invoiced a customer and it's got a number of items on the invoice, it would display as a single line for the total value. It doesn't show the individual items. So, if you've invoiced, you've got 20 items on that invoice, it's not going to list them all individually on the statement. We find that actually nobody uses that type of layout. It is possible, but nobody was using that type of layout. Hence, these days, only the grouped ones are displayed by default. If you're on an older version, you may see some of the statement layouts described as individual, and that's what that would mean. But generally, everyone used grouped. Now, there's all items and O/S items as part of that description as well. So all items would, when you generate your statement, do you want to see all transactions within the date range? A bit like a bank statement, as in this is what's happened in the period. Or are you wanting almost like a statement of the account as it stands now? So displaying, right, this is what's outstanding on your account. This is what still needs to be paid. So it's a 50-50 on that one. Depends what you want to show when you send out that statement to a customer. So showing everything that's happened, a bit like an activity on a customer's account, or only what still needs to be paid. Appeal by Elevon, we'll touch on that a little bit later on if we get a chance. But remember, whichever layout you choose, remember to flag that as a favorite. It will just save you those couple of clicks. Same when you go to invoicing or reports, just click on that little star to the left of the name and it will add it to the favorites folder. It just means when you go into the relevant area, if you've got anything flagged as a favorite, it will default to that folder then, and it will display that for you. Now, obviously, you can always sort of highlight or select your layout. I just preview the statements, see what they're after, see which one you like, what format you like, and of course, they can be amended if required. So if you want to add things like logos, etc., you can do that. So you can add your company brand and change fonts and styles and colors and positioning and add in other information if required. Again, what we always say when it comes to if you need to make amends, choose an existing layout and then make changes to that as opposed to trying to design one from scratch. Again, statements can be quite complicated. Now, as far as generating your statements are concerned, simple process, you're going to go into customers, make your selection. Now, that might be a case if you just want to do it for all customers that meet the criteria to have a statement sent. So you might just click clear so that nothing is highlighted. And then when you go to statements, it will consider everything. You might want to go down and make a selection. So highlight certain records that you want to send a statement to. So you might have almost like retail customers and you might have trade customers. You might split them that way, and you might send different. You might use a different statement layout depending who the intended recipient is. Now you might apply a filter to make that a little bit easier rather than you go down the list and highlighting the ones that you're after. So when it comes to sending them as well, if you're still in that transition between printing and emailing it, you might flag your customers accordingly. Apply a filter to say, right, these only display the ones where I print a statement, and then generate your statements, and then reverse that filter to show the ones that you email, and then do a second statement run, and off they go. Output options, standard output options, obviously preview, printer, export, if you just want to save a copy of them all yourself. But the main ones you're going to be using, obviously preview initially to have a look, print to print them out, or email to send them direct to your email provider. Now, just to reiterate that point, emailing statements is covered in tomorrow's session, so in part 2. Now, when you read your statements, you will be offered criteria values. So basically, that's going to include a date range, and also, hopefully, you're familiar with the age debtors report where you can exclude later payments. I'll try and show you an example of that. And also, just as we're going through the demonstrations in just a second, the things to watch out for as well. So are you sending statements to a customer that maybe has a zero balance? You can look for things like that. Right, okay, so anyway, let's get stuck into some demonstrations. I'm sure you're here to see the demo as opposed to just hear about it. So I'll quickly share my screen. And we'll get stuck in. Right, so we're going to pop into customers. You can see you've got some customers. Top 2 have a balance. The next 2 have a zero balance. Now, if I don't highlight anything, so let's quickly first of all talk about sort of our selection method. So if we highlight something, so we can go down and we can highlight records. Now, if you find your selection method is like mine, where currently you're clicking and the highlight just follows you around, if you want to select multiple records, when it's like that, just hold down your control key, and then as you do that, you'll see it highlights the ones that you click on. If you want to select a range, you would just click on the first one, then hold down your shift key, and then click on the last one in the range that you want to specify. Now, if you're like me, you might prefer the Sage selection style. So you can go to Tools, Options, and then on the Environment tab, you can switch to the Sage selection style. And this is more, and we OK that, this is more of an on-off type highlight. So if I click on ABS Garages, and then I just click on Bronson as an example, you'll see it just highlights it. If I want to get rid of one, I just click on it again. So it's that on-off switch per record. I don't have to hold down shift keys or control keys, anything like that. Now, if you've got nothing selected, it will consider everything. Now, as I also mentioned, you might apply a filter beforehand. So you can see some of mine are flagged as trade. I've got, well, actually, I've only got one flagged as public in this instance and one flagged as cash. So if I go to generate my statements, I might only send statements to trade customers, in which case I could go into the filter option, and I could do where, try that one again, where, and I'm going to do customer type. So what's customer type being one of my analysis fields, and I'm going to say is equal to, and if I just say trade and apply that. And you'll see in the customer type column that I've got enabled, I can only see the records that are flagged as trade now. It would mean that when I go and generate that statement, it's only going to include the ones that are listed. Similarly, go back to, if I just knock that filter off for the moment, you'll see some of mine are flagged as email and some of them are flagged as print. Now, this column, the email or print, it is displayed by default, that one. And what it refers to is within the customer's record, if I just go into one, you've got this little checkbox at the bottom where it says, I send letters, statements, etc. to this customer via email. Now, it doesn't stop you printing, whether you tick it or not. It doesn't stop you emailing, whether it's ticked or not. It's just a little way of flagging that. So if I take the tick out of that one and just save that, you'll see that this option here against that customer it refers back to then print. Similarly, if I go back into the record and I switch it back on, save it, it just flags it as email. And again, that means when I go to filter, I can change that. See if I can find the right option. Find the right flag. Sometimes they're called something a little bit different on the field list. Just begin with P. Can't find it for the life of me, so I might come back to that one. And again, it would just be a case of applying that filter and saying, right, only display the ones that are flagged for email. Oh, it's completely gone out my head there what that's called. Anyway, I might come back to that one. But anyway, again, the idea there is that you're filtering that list beforehand. You might display the ones that are flagged for email only, generate those, and then switch that. And then maybe if you print some as well, you can then do that one. You don't want to, if you're printing on stationery maybe. You don't want to be sending all the ones that you email out and printing those as well. And you'd just be wasting your stationery and then having to filter, manually pull the ones out that you email and just sort of tear them up because you don't want to send those. You just be wasting your time. So you can apply a filter beforehand. Anyway, let's get stuck into the statements themselves. So once you've made your selection, I'll just make sure nothing's highlighted. Or let's say I want to include all of them. And we come into statements. It does default to your favorites folder when you come into here. I've not got anything listed. If I go into layouts, it's got the 5 standard ones that are available. Now, these ones at the bottom, the ones that say appeal by Elevon, if I was to choose one of those and just click preview, because I haven't got appeal by Elevon enabled, meaning that appeal by Elevon is an option where customers can pay you online. So it gives you that pay now button, which you can include on things like invoices, statements. You can take card payments over the phone via that service. And these ones will only let you use them if you have enabled that option within your software. So it's a service. You'll find out more if you need to, just within apps and add-ons on your toolbar down the left on the main screen. So we'll ignore these two. Right, now if I just go for this one for the time being, the first one, and I just preview it, and you'll see the criteria that comes up. So again, I don't need to apply that customer reference criteria because you would have already made your selection beforehand. The key thing to look out for is your date range. What period do you want your statement to cover? Now, obviously it defaults to 1980. If you're doing an all items, so this one says all items in the description, and I'll quickly do that. Actually, I haven't got much data in this one, but if I was to choose an all items and I didn't change this date range, potentially I'm going to see that all of that activity on the customer's account. So all items would include invoices, credits, receipts, payments on accounts, refunds. So it's almost like an activity of what's on the account for the relevant date range. So you tend to find that you do that for the month in hand. So remember, rather than change it, you've got this date picker tool. So you can select that. If we just choose last month, it just saves me typing that in. I'll come back to this option in a few minutes to try and demonstrate that one. And if I just OK that. Now remember, this is an all items statement. Now because I've run it for the month, if you've got any balances prior to the period, which it needs to include, it'll just show that as a brought forward. So essentially this is saying, right, this is what's outstanding prior to the period. And then it will list any items within that period. Let's go down to the next page. So page 2. So it's listing the transactions that have occurred within that period. This one doesn't have a brought forward. This one is, now this one's quite obvious, this one. You've got an invoice and you've got a credit. Now these net each other off in essence. So you're sending out, it's possibly one of the advantages sending in all items. So it's listing all of the items that have occurred, all of the transactions that have occurred within that period. And then the final one, what I've got here is I've got an invoice, so debit balance on there, and then we've got that credit balance on there as well. Again, they cancel each other out. But an all item statement would mean it includes potentially those zero balance accounts. They've got transactions that have occurred within that period. It might be why you switch to an outstanding items layout. Now if I preview this one, and again, we'll just do it for the same period. So we'll do it for last month. This time we just get the 3 pages. So first one, very similar. You've got that brought forward balance and a transaction within the period. Second one, again, it's still got the 2 items there. They're both outstanding. And then the third one, which is what I want to bring your attention to, and it's something we keep talking about, tidying up your accounts, allocating your transactions together. So this account, it's got a 0 balance. So you would think, well, actually, I just want to do an outstanding items only, but why is it including this one? There's nothing outstanding on the account, got a 0 balance. But these transactions, if we were to look closely at this account, this BBS 001, let's quickly do that. So BBS 001, if we have a look at the activity for that one, excuse me, you'll see that both of these transactions are outstanding, so they haven't been allocated to each other yet. So at some point, ideally, what we'd want to do is tidy up the account. So we've added that credit note on, but we haven't said, right, this credit note specifically relates to this invoice. Might be immediately obvious when you look at it, but you need to tell the software, right, these are for each other. So if I quickly go into remember the customer receipt window, this is where you allocate. If we choose that BBS account, and all we're going to do is pay in full against the 2 transactions. Just make sure the amount is 0 and the analysis total is 0. So I'm not actually receiving any money. I'm just matching these transactions together. If I save that, close out, remove my selection, go back to statements. And if we this time run the outstanding items option again, preview it, do it for last month. And then this time, if we look at the statements, we still see that first one. We'll see the second one. Well, actually, there's no third one this time. So that third one has been excluded. There's nothing outstanding on the account. And notice it doesn't generate statements for any of the others either. There's nothing outstanding on those accounts either. So you don't need to go through your initial list either and say, right, oh, this one's got a balance, this one has generated for that. It will ignore those with a 0 balance, specifically if there's nothing outstanding on the account as well. Now, this one I want to quickly mention, and we have a look at this account. Fred Bryant, if we have a look at the activity, you'll see that we've got an invoice here, which is dated in July, and we've got a receipt against it in August. Now, when you're running statements, again, what is it you want to show? Do you want to show sort of what's outstanding as at, say, today's date, but only list the transactions? So we do this one as an example, grouped all items. Let's just preview that one. So I'm going to do it for last month. Now, if I don't tick this box, just okay that. That's fine. It shows me excuse me. It shows me the information on there. That's fine. If I do this one, outstanding items only, we preview that one. Again, we'll do that for last month only. This time I'm getting this option. So the account we've just looked at, because it's got an invoice in July and a receipt in August, there's technically, as it stands, there's nothing outstanding. So a bit like that aged debtors, do you want to retrospectively produce a statement to say, right, this is what was outstanding at the end of the period? So if I run that one again, run it for last month. This time I can exclude later payments. If I okay that, you see this time actually it does generate a statement. So it includes that invoice because technically, as at this date at the top, that invoice is not paid. So it's what do you want to show? Potentially, would that just, are you just asking, and it's creating confusion there if it's an outstanding items only? If you just want to send out a statement that says, right, this is the current state of play. This is what's outstanding and needs to be paid. Would you want to show this one outstanding or not? So it's all these things to maybe consider when you're generating statements. What date range do you do it for? Do you show all items outstanding only? And if you are running sort of retrospectively, so a little bit back in time, or you want to show what was outstanding at the time, or you want to almost like show that current state of play. So a few different things to think about. Right, Simon, you're my sidekick today. So just want to quickly pick up on that filter. Simon found it. So when we go into filter, and I was looking for the bit that's going to flag it email or print, Simon found it on this list, and it's the send. Actually, if I just this one, send letters to this account via email. So if I say is equal to, and then I can choose yes or no. So if I choose yes, it's then going to find the ones in the background there which are email only. Or if I choose no for that one, it means I've got the ones listed that I then print. So it means that you're not going to start including the wrong records if you're doing that combination of printing and emailing. Right, so that's just about part one complete for today. Tomorrow we're going to look in detail at emailing and what options you've got for amending your email settings. There are a couple of different ways you can do that, either via email defaults or the report design, and that's what we're going to be picking up on in tomorrow's session. Now, if I pop back to the slides, there's a few links that I've got included in the slides for you. So how you go about choosing your statement layout, process of generating those, customizing your layout. So have a good look at your layout. Oh, I mentioned this when we talk about invoices quite a bit. Is there any information on your layouts that is missing? So is it as simple as, actually, we want to add our image or a logo, text? Do you want to include bank details on there, payment methods? Include that on there, whether you print it or email it. You might want to include your bank details so customers can pay you direct. Saves them ringing up and asking for that detail. Is there other information on there that you want to include? Contact details. I don't think there's any phone numbers on the statements by default or email addresses. So do you want to add those on? So if a customer does have a query, they're not hunting around trying to find that. You're providing that information up front. On the design side, you want to include lines, boxes, that type of thing. If you've ever done that to your invoice, you've got the same options available for other layouts as well, whether that's orders, credit notes, remittances. You've got the same options available within the report designer. If you've never touched the report designer before, some good recorded webinars available on that. And then, of course, tomorrow we've got the live webinar on part 2. So we're going to look at emailing statements. If you haven't yet registered, I've included that link. But again, the link will be included on your follow-up email. So if you haven't already, do get yourself registered, and hopefully I'll see you on that one as well. If you've got any final questions just at this stage, if you want to quickly pop them into the questions panel or comments for that matter, feels short and sweet this one this morning. So hopefully it gives you a good idea of what different layouts will actually show and what options you've got and how you go about initially generating your statements. So session has been recorded. A link to it will be included on your follow-up email. That will be with you around about an hour's time. And also a link to our upcoming webinars and a link to our recordings page. So do watch out for that. Right, any final questions before we wrap up? As you leave today's session, as usual, little survey pops up. If you've got any thoughts or comments surrounding our webinars, do let us know. If you can take that minute to complete that, pop your ideas and your thoughts on there, and watch out for your follow-up email, and hopefully I'll see you on tomorrow's session. Right, just going to hang around for about another 30 seconds, just to see if any questions do come through, but otherwise that brings us to the end of this morning's session. So if you've got any questions, quickly pop them in there. I'll give you about another 30 seconds, and then otherwise we'll wrap up the webinar. If anyone wants to play around with the statement side, obviously, as long as you're just previewing, no problem. You can do that. You can do it in your live data, or if you want to, really sort of tear into it and sort of check the ins and outs of that, then you can always use the demo data, the practice data. Quick question from Tricia there, just with regard to the filter. Will that affect your colleagues? No. So if you do apply a filter to your list, it's only going to impact on your list. So if you apply a filter to only show customers that are flagged for printing or emailing, it's not going to impact anyone else. So only your list. Filters are user specific. Would also follow you around as well if you go onto your colleague's PC and you log on to their PC as yourself. That filter would follow you around. The filter's sort of saved on the same path as your data. Same for the sort as well, for that matter. Again, the way that you've got it sorted, whether that's account reference or any other order, that would be retained, and again, that's user specific as well. So no problem there, Tricia. And again, you can switch that on and off at any time. Right, we'll end the webinar just at that point. There's no additional questions. If you think of anything, either come along tomorrow and ask them, or just drop them on an email. You can reply to any of the webinar emails and I'll be able to pick those up for you. Many thanks, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow.